Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Sacred Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Margaret Romero, and I am very happy to introduce to you Megan Dalla-Camina today. Megan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Yes, I came upon, I'm not sure even how your name came across I'm not sure if it was Instagram or maybe you were part of a talk somewhere. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, but or maybe through, because you have a podcast as well. But there was just something about you that I thought, you know what, I need to know who this woman is. There was just so much power in the words, in your website, and what you do to help empower women. I knew I just wanted to connect with you and have you on. So I would love just a little intro about what you do to help women, like a very vague topic. I know we can dig a lot deeper, but I just wanted to find out, in a sense, what it is that you do.
Sure. So I currently I run my own business. I've been in business. I was in corporate for 18 years, and we can talk about that. And then I've been in my own business for just over 4 years, and I work as a strategist and a coach. I work as a speaker. I do a lot of, public speaking engagements. I'm a write for a lot of publications like Huffington Post and Psychology Today, my own blog, and a whole lot of others. And I'm an author. So I've written 2 books, Getting Real About Having It All with Hay House, and my latest book's called Lead Like a Woman, which is part of a second company that I co-founded and the co-CEO of, called Lead Like a Woman, which is focused on feminine leadership, helping empower female leaders to show up as themselves authentically and to really change the whole paradigm of leadership. So that's kind of, my day job in all of that. And then I'm in the process of founding and starting up 2 women's platforms, which we won't go into today, but maybe a follow-up episode, just really around empowering women in different aspects of their life. So yeah, a whole bunch of beautiful stuff in there that I'm really passionate about.
Oh, wow. That sounds fantastic. So I would love for you to share something that, what do you commonly see in women? What is it that stops us in our tracks sometimes from really getting to another level of greatness? What is that thing, and how do we overcome it?
Yeah, so how long have we got? About 10 hours for me to answer that question? Look, I think in the work that I see, I would speak to more than 10,000 women a year, in my business and in my speaking engagements, and I work with hundreds of others, either through my practice or my programs, and I see consistent things. So the first thing I see is that so many women are so unclear about what the life is that they're trying to create for themselves. I ask women to tell me what their life vision is, and I typically get a blank stare, really annoyed and defensive, or really sad because they haven't carved out time for themselves to really think about that. So, and we can dig into any of this, but that's the first piece that I see so prevalent in women's lives today, and that we're really stuck running everybody else's agenda. So whether that's taking care of our families, whether that's doing the right thing at work, whether we're in our own business and we're, running around taking care of our clients, it's everybody else's agenda and it's not ours. And when we're in that place, it's incredibly hard, if not impossible, not only to not get to greatness, as you talk about, but to live a happy, fulfilled, well life. So that, I see that underpinning most of the issues and the challenges. that I see for women, the women who come to me to work with me, the women who, who I see in audiences where I speak, and the women I write my books for, quite frankly, that's the crux, of so much of it. So that's one. There's so much of a social, cultural narrative now around purpose and finding your purpose and, doing meaningful work and finding your calling. And I see a lot of women get completely obsessed and unraveled because they don't know what it is and they can't find it. And they put so much pressure on themselves to work out, like, what is this and why don't I know it yet?
Right.
And, I always say to women that, and I write about this, and there's an article on my website I wrote recently that, we think we're going to get struck by purpose. And what the research tells us is that very rarely, if ever, happens. We very rarely get the, wake up in the morning and God or the goddess, speaks down to us and says, this is what you're supposed to do with your life. The research tells us that we actually need to follow the breadcrumbs, and that's how we uncover what our purpose is. Yeah. We follow our curiosity, we look at what's the next thing that's interesting and how we trigger that and re-trigger that and re-trigger that. And that if we keep following that path, that will lead us there. But we need to take the pressure off ourselves, right? Like, it's so overwhelming to just sit with that question. So that would be a second piece that really stops women in their tracks. And when I say women, I put myself in that category because I've been, everything I talk about, I've done and been through. It's not it's not an academic exercise. And then, look, if I had to pick three, the third thing would be that we can be really bad at looking after ourselves. And, I did 2 master's degrees. I did the first in business, which I hated every minute of, and I did the second in wellness with a major in positive psychology, which I loved every second of, because I wanted to get deep into the science of thriving. Like, what does it actually take to be well? And how do we implement that in our real lives, in the real world? And when we do that well, when we look after ourselves and carve out, all the things that we hear about but very rarely do, then we can absolutely get to that place that you speak about of greatness, or however we want to define success for ourselves. But unfortunately, as I'm sure you see, it's often the very last thing, that we do. And
so true.
Whether it's, burnout or just walking through life with that sense of greatness about ourselves, it keeps us stuck in lives that we potentially don't want to live, and certainly doesn't feed the energy that we need to go and work out what our life vision is and follow those breadcrumbs to our purpose.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes it could be years of breadcrumbs sometimes. And
yes,
it's not, okay, well, I had this thought today, and so why isn't this working like 3 months later?
Yes.
And
that was my experience. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, definitely if I thought that when I went to nurse practitioner school 17 years ago, that I was going to be doing this my whole life. And I mean, I can't imagine being working as a nurse practitioner in a hospital setting, for example, because that's just maybe 10 years ago. And I've definitely done it as a new NP. But now that is completely really not my calling. And I know what that is. But I would have never known that 10 years ago. Like it took, a good 10 to 15 years of experiences and life and moving and living in different places and setting up wellness centers and all of these things to finally come to where I am today. And I think that sometimes when that path seems so long, or you're not really sure where the end of that tunnel is, you can easily get burnt out or just want to give up.
Absolutely. And I was in a similar position. I, as I said, spent 18 years in the corporate world. Before that, I grew up in the performing arts. So my whole life I thought I was going to move to Hollywood and be an actress, like that was my path. I thought that was my path.
Mm-hmm.
And spent my whole first 23 years of my life getting ready for that, and then a whole lot of things happened and I ended up working for GE, the General Electric company, in their electronic commerce business when I was 25, and that started a 18-year career in, corporate America, in Australia, in Asia, in the US. And it wasn't until the last kind of 5 years of that journey where I started to think that maybe, and it was after a burnout, a really bad burnout, that I kind of started to think for the first time ever, maybe I'm not going to spend my whole life in corporate America. And it had never occurred to me that I would do anything other than have these big executive jobs and fly around the world and, be a good executive. And I had to follow those breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs for me were around the passion that I had for gender diversity, which was part of my executive role, and women's leadership and helping women be well. And, of course, after burnout, how do we never do that? Mm-hmm. And that led me down, I followed the path. I did my yoga teacher training. I did that second master's degree. I wrote my first book. I started coaching women on the side because I was working 4 days a week in my executive role. And I started coaching women because women were coming to me saying, tell me what you've learned. And please help me do that. And on and on and on it went until I got to the point where I was like there is no corporate job that I want. Like I want to go and do this. I want to speak to rooms of women and I want to coach women and I want to write more books. And to this day, it keeps unfolding. I think another myth that we have is that we will arrive, we will get there in inverted commas. And I don't think we ever do. I'm still evolving. This time last year, I was in one place in my business. And I thought, this is going to be a great place for me to sit for a couple of years. And 3 months later, a whole new range of creative inspiration came in and I've pivoted. And, things are changing and super exciting and I'm just following those breadcrumbs to see where they lead. So, we have to be awake though, because if we're not awake, we don't see the breadcrumbs in front of us. And that's when we just stay on that treadmill and we keep or the hamster wheel, whatever analogy you want to use. We have to be awake and taking care of ourselves and creating space for ourselves so that we can see those crumbs when they drop in. Does that make sense?
Yes. Totally. And so what do you tell the women when they kind of want to see that end result now, tomorrow, today, and it's just not happening as quick as they want it to before they burn out or give up?
Well, the first thing is you have to look after yourself through the process. Yeah. So, I'm always coaching my clients on what are your non-negotiables? What are your non-negotiable self-care practices? And that needs to sustain you. And it can be different for everybody. For me, I have a very structured morning routine. It's not structured. It feels very organic, but it's set, Mm-hmm. And we can go into that if that's of interest to your listeners. But I know if I've done my morning that I'm going to set myself up for success, and the boundaries that I have around that. I know that using essential oils for me is essential to my health and my well-being, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being, and that's a part of my day that helps sustain me. Sleep is another one. So, we can have a whole conversation about that.
Right.
But that's the first thing I say, please sustain yourself through the journey and know that this is not a sprint. Mm-hmm. If you want to get to creating the vision for your life and for your work that truly inspires you and that really makes you want to get up every day and get at it, that is going to take you time and you have to show up and do the work.
Yeah.
It doesn't magically happen. I think that the world of social media, the world that we live in now, And the way we talk about careers and entrepreneurism and just life in general, and the pictures that people put out on social media, we live in this mythical vision that it just happens. I'm going to decide that I want to be an author, and 2 months later, my book's going to be in Barnes and Noble. It just doesn't happen like that,
right?
And the quick fixes and the 21 days to this and the 5 steps to that. This is not how it works. You have to show up and do the work. Now, it doesn't have to be hard work. It doesn't have to feel hard, but it's work, right? That's how we get to the things that are really meaningful for us. And you can do that with grace and ease, which is my mantra, but you've still got to show up and do it. So I find that when women, and this is certainly true for me, when you are clear on the vision of what it is that you are moving towards, and that could be, your purposeful work in the world. It could be the family you're trying to create. It could be, the way you want your job to feel. When you are clear on that and you're grounded into your intention and it has meaning for you, then you can sustain the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
and
true.
You're happy to show up and do that work. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get to the middle, the messy middle that we never talk about, where it just feels really hard and you want it to be done already. But if you can keep sustained to that vision and build that grit, you will be able to keep going, through those hard parts.
I would love to hear what your morning routine is.
Sure. So I follow Ayurvedic principles. My life is kind of a mishmash of so many different philosophies and traditions and practices, but a lot of it's based on Ayurveda. So I wake up in the morning, I oil pull, so coconut oil in the mouth, swishing it around for 5 or so minutes. I then that you get spit out,
right?
And I do a salt water rinse. I clean my teeth. I do my lemon water, and then any supplement that I might be taking, like a clay or a charcoal. And then I will go for a walk. So I typically would walk 6 kilometers in the morning. So that's about 4.5 miles, or 3.5 miles, and then come home, do some yoga, and meditate. And that's my morning. So an alternate to that would be that instead of doing the 4-mile walk, I would go to a 6 a.m. yoga class. So I get up early. I get up somewhere between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. So sometimes I'll swap out the walk. I'll walk to yoga, do yoga, and then come home and, do the meditation and everything else. But yeah, that's my morning ritual. And I have this rule: no email before meditation. So I used to wake up in the morning and I would do what, so many people do, right? Reach for the phone, check the email, check the news, check the social media feeds, and then be in a complete frenzy. And, sitting down to meditate would be an impossibility.
Right.
So now I listen to a podcast when I'm on my walk in the morning, and I will select that before I go to bed at night, so I have no activation energy in the morning. And yeah, I typically don't open my email until 10 o'clock.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, I don't like to actually start my work day until 10. So I could be sitting at my desk at 8, but I will be writing. Yeah. So I'm currently working on my next book. I write a blog every week on my website. I contribute to other people's sites and platforms. So yeah, 8 till 10 in the morning. I really like that to be creative time. And then 10, start. My business is open.
Yes, I agree. I don't look at the phone or do any social. Do not open email until I have morning ritual time too, and it does take a couple of hours, and that's because I love my mornings. And
yeah,
it does include also, there is meditation, there's prayer, there's visualization, there's essential oils, there's candles, there's reading something inspirational and writing in my journal, and then there's breakfast and really slow, and then
Yeah.
it's probably around 10 o'clock in the morning, and then I will start to immerse. Sometimes
Yeah.
someone will call at 9, but I never pick up.
No, I don't either, and I will take some photos on my walk. I walk down to the beach every day, and I'm a creative, so taking photos for me is it's just part of part of my life, and I love Instagram stories. So I won't look at anybody else's anything on Instagram. I won't scroll. I won't click on anybody's videos, but I will post a couple of pictures in the morning. Might be flowers at the flower shop where I go to get juice, or it might be of the beach or pelicans or whatever. But yeah, I do like that bit of creative outlet in the morning when I'm out. Yeah, it's nice.
Great. I love that. You set up such a beautiful visual for me. Do you live right by the beach, I'm assuming?
I live about like a minute's drive or 10 minutes walk from the beach.
Nice.
I've got the beach on one side and I've got Sydney Harbour on the other side. So yeah, it's kind of special.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So what would you say? I know you also have some. You coach, and you also have these. I don't know if this is a live event, but you have something called the Journey into the Sacred Feminine. Is that a live event or is that an online course?
No, so I did something radical this year, and I did an in-person program, which is something so rare these days, right? Everybody just wants everything online. Sorry, everybody delivers everything online. I'm finding that there's this real craving amongst women to come together again and sit in circle as we once did.
Yes.
So I ran that program. It's not currently open at the moment, but I ran that program and I took 10 women on a 6-month journey into the sacred feminine and into really coming back and redefining and reclaiming our womanhood, ourselves and how we show up as women. And I do a lot of work around feminine and masculine traits and how we can soften into the feminine as women, because we've been so socialized out of our feminine.
Yes.
In our lives, in our careers, in our businesses, certainly as leaders. And I wrote a whole book on that, called Lead Like a Woman. So yeah, that was a beautiful journey. And really, my work is to find out how women navigate that path, because really we're all just coming home, right? We're all just trying to come home to ourselves, whether we're awake to that or awakening to that. So that's really what all of my work does, and just to help women discover and step into their feminine power.
And how do you teach them how to do that? Like what, give us a couple of tools that you use to help the women, because this is something that it fascinates me, and it's also something that I do in my practice, and it's also something that I practice daily. And it's bringing women back into that beautiful feminine space, so they can really, because I see the end result of when they're really in their masculine, and it's really sort of breaking down our bodies. So
yes, and our spirits. I was one of the biggest things that I experienced and witnessed, and still witness to this day, with being in the corporate world. And this is not just about corporate. It happens in every system, in every structure, in governments, not-for-profits, like hospitals, the healthcare, like everywhere, right?
Right.
Where women are stepping into patriarchal systems, which for me really just meant, it's stepping into systems that were created by men for men and haven't been adjusted, to accommodate all genders and all lifestyles and all success models, etc. And that imbalance, when when we are so far out of alignment with who we are. And, you know, when I talk about feminine traits, I talk about what the research talks about, because I'm a researcher, around, you know, feminine and masculine, feminine being things like empathy and intuition and creativity and vulnerability and collaboration, which is not to say that men don't embody those, because they're non-gendered.
Right.
But which is really important, yeah, this is not a female versus male thing. This is a feminine and masculine trait discussion. And women, certainly that I see, that I work with, that I research, we're just so ingrained, and our neural pathways are so deeply you know, riveted around our masculine traits, because that's how we've survived, and that's how we've been, you know, that's how we've been taught. So to answer your question, in my work, all the things that we've spoken about are absolutely core. So getting super clear on the life vision of what you are trying to create for yourself. How do all of the things that you would love to have in your life come together? You know, when I was in my, you know, executive career, I had a career, I had my job, and I had my child, and there was nothing else to be seen. You know, when I had my burnout, my son was 5. I was a single mum and trying to do my first master's degree, trying to do this big job. It was a joke. Like, it was ridiculous. I look back now with hindsight and I go, how on earth would you have thought that you weren't going to burn yourself out? You know, with all of that, you know, there was absolutely no clarity about what I wanted my life to look like. So we have to start there. The purpose piece is again really important and key, and so is the well-being. And when we can, like, if we just took those 3 things, because we don't need 500 things to focus on. Yeah, we're busy women. If we took those 3 aspects and said, and this is where I always start with my clients, right? What is the life that you would really like to create for yourself? No limitations, no restrictions, no getting into the left brain of how do I do that? Just sit in the right brain, subconscious heart space of, if I was going to be completely honest with myself and really tapped in, what do I truly want? You know, what do I truly want? And if I was going to make it be okay to want what I want, and I didn't need to know how I was going to make that happen, what would I put on a piece of paper? What would I write down for myself?
Right.
That's where I start. Because if we can soften into that, and it's a beautiful thing to do coming out of meditation, and, you know, give yourself, you know, a bit of a ritual around that, you know, the candles or the incense or the oils, whatever it is that helps, you know, both ground and connect you, then that's the most beautiful, honest, real place for us to start. Into that feminine place, because we have to soften into those feminine traits to go there. You know, we have to be vulnerable. We need to tap into our intuition, and come out of the masculine, which is, where's the plan? Right. Yeah. So that's super important. You know, I like to use lots of tools. And excuse me, sorry. One of the fascinating things that happened in the first day retreat that I did for the Journey into the Sacred Feminine, in the last intake, I like to use essential oils, and the oils that I use are doTERRA oils, and they have a blend called Whisper, and it's the woman's blend. And it's this special alchemy of all of these beautiful flowers in it. And I passed it around the group to see the reactions of the women. And a couple of the women who were very grounded in their feminine, they loved it. They thought it was beautiful. They wanted to put it on their bodies, you know, and anoint themselves. And that was really interesting. And then one woman who was kind of on the verge, masculine, feminine, she was kind of, oh, yeah, it's okay. I'm not really that fussed. And then one of the women who'd come into the program, because she was so detached and completely alienated, not just from her own feminine essence, but from female relationships, from a relationship with her mother, like all of the female relationships, external and internal, needed, dire nurturing and support. And she took one inhalation of this oil and had a violent reaction to it.
Really?
And
Wow.
it was fascinating to watch her as she went through the 6 months of the work that we did together, which was group work and individual work, because she now wears it as her daily perfume.
Wow.
So I think you can use all types of tools, to really support you and see where you're at on this journey into coming home to ourselves. That's just one example, but I found it a very real, palpable, example of just testing where we're at with ourselves.
It's so interesting that men don't have it's like they know what their mission is or their purpose or their goal or money or whatever it is, and they're totally in their masculine and they go after it and they get it, and then there's really no question. They just sort of will do it, from what I'm commonly seeing. I'm not saying this is across the board, but why is it that we get so stuck, and then there's fear, and then things that stop us, and then we listen to other people who aren't entrepreneurs or who don't have a clue about business giving advice, and then the women are like, oh yeah, you're right, what am I thinking? It's just the gender differences. I wish that we can, as women, really harness our masculine to like make an impact and have that sort of fearless drive to just do what we want, yet the softness of, because you can also be, because the feminine is also very strong as well. But I think that, what do you have to say for, like, what are your thoughts around the fact that I feel that women sometimes we can be delayed in what we want, and we're just too slow to make the next move, when men are just like the move, and they do it and they get it, and they're like buying a company, or they're creating a company, or they're in their third company, or I don't know. What do you, it baffles me, and it frustrates me to see that as well. And men sort of don't sit around and question, oh, should I, or I don't know what to do. They're just like doing it. And can we as women can we just be in the masculine and like get shit done, and then kind of turn it off when we get home, and turn it off when we're with our husband, and turn it off when we're on a date? I mean, I'd love for us to be able to we do have both, but to be able to know how to harness both and when to use them.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the whole goal, right? Like, I think this is the goal of our lives, to be able to sit in that place and know, when do I need to be in my masculine? When I'm in my day generally, and this has taken me a lot of work, right? So this hasn't been a 5-minute process. It's been a year upon year upon year process. But when I'm in my day now, the reason I have my morning routine is so that I am in my feminine. I am in that nurturing, creative, intuitive, deep self-care space. And
Right.
then when I go into my business day, I'm still in that grounded feminine space, but I'm balancing that out with my masculine to, get shit done.
Right.
Like, I run 2 companies and I'm creating 2 more, and I'm writing books. Yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff to get done in the world. So I'm not going to just sit in my intuitive space all day. Like, I need to get into action.
Right.
So, but I also need to balance that with the feminine, because if I don't, then I drive and I strive and I push and I obsess. And I don't turn off, Yeah, I just keep going and going and going. So, and then at the end of the day, whether it's a shower or a yoga practice and some different oils, I diffuse different oils during the day than I do after work. Yeah, when I want, because I work in my home, to create that delineation. And then how do I soften? Yeah, into the evening, so that I have that. Like, this is the goal. This is what we all want to get to, I think. I've never met a woman who doesn't want to get to that place where they can have that right balance. I think we have a bit of a myth in society as well, though, just coming to what you had said about men, that men have this all sorted, because they don't, right? Like, men are as stuck in gender norms that limit them as women are stuck in gender norms that limit us, and behaviors and socialization and all of the rest of it. Like, I can't tell you the amount of men that I speak to who have confidence issues and question themselves and don't give themselves permission to, do anything other than be the A-type provider, who looks after everything and everyone and makes the money, and that's just what it is. So, like, I think we have to be real about that. It's easy for us to say we have all the issues to overcome, but, like, men have just as many.
That's
right?
True. That's true.
In their own way, and struggle with how they come out of their masculine, come into their feminine. When in Lead Like a Woman, we talk about that, because, men need to soften into their feminine traits in a different way than women do. And we see some amazing examples of leadership with leaders who use their empathy and their intuition and their vulnerability and their collaborative practices to lead really well, and much better than if they were just in their drive and strive, command and control, authoritarian. Yeah. And we see examples of that every day. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I guess being, from New York City, it's the type of men that I see on a daily basis are men who are driven and CEOs and very confident and completely in their power. And but I also see them with high blood pressure and having heart attacks and eating too much and
having no life, and all of those things that we don't want for the men. So, like, I mean, this is a societal conversation, right? This is a completely changing the societal fabric of how everyone is expected to show up, what work looks like, what success looks like, what leadership looks like, what politics and government look like. I mean, let's not go there, but I mean, it's a very big conversation.
Yes.
That determines how we are all guided and socialized to play out our roles.
Exactly. So, okay, so you have this journey into the sacred feminine, and do you meet once a month for 6 months? Is that how it worked, or do you do some online things too?
No, so that program was completely in person. I have another program called the Career Toolkit, and that's an online program to help women navigate through 10 steps in a journey from all the things we're talking about: life vision and purpose and confidence and strengths and feminine power and creating change and building an exit strategy and well-being, a whole bunch of stuff. That's an online program that has women in it from all over the world, because, I know that we need to be able to provide solutions and support and community for women who can't come and sit in my lounge room. Yeah.
Right.
Which I do very rarely. I very rarely do those programs. So, having the online model with community around it, because we so need community, is super helpful.
How did you like the in-person retreat?
Oh, I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. There's nothing like getting a group of women together and going on a deep journey over time.
Yeah.
I think where society is so quick fix now, and this work, it's not quick fix. I mean, sure, you can come and have a coaching session and you will walk out with, immediate solutions of things you can do to make things better or to start your journey. But transformational work, it takes time.
It does.
We've got to get out of this mentality that it's going to be done tomorrow. It's not going to be done tomorrow. And that's okay. The sitting in the growth mindset that Professor Carol Dweck talks about, of it's about the process that you're going to go through and what you're going to learn about yourself, not just about where you're going to get to.
So true. So true. Oh, let's see. What else was I going to ask you? So what would you say to the women listening that maybe she has a little bit of an idea about what she wants to do, but she's not really sure how to, who to guide her, what to do? Should she get a coach? What would be something to just kind of help her along so she's taking one little baby step at a time?
Yeah, so the important thing that you said there is taking one little baby step at a time. Like, I'm all about the little things. Mm-hmm. So I would say to her, what is the smallest step that you can take today to move you towards the life that you want to create for yourself? And then what's the smallest step you can take tomorrow to move you towards the life that you want to create for yourself? And within that could be reading an article, on the internet. It could be going to my website, and there's dozens of free resources on there. There's, I write every week. Or going to your website. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, go do something. Go read something.
Right.
Go listen to a podcast that is going to inspire you and guide you to move forward. Yeah. Read 2 pages of a book. Yeah. If you're time poor and you've got 4 kids and you're working and you have no time, read 2 pages of a book before you go to bed. Yeah. Take you 5 minutes.
Right.
So do something, do something small, and then work out what are you going to do tomorrow and write it down. What are you going to do the next day and write it down, so you build some momentum. And we can build momentum with tiny little things every day. So that would be the first thing. And if you did nothing else, do that. I would say to, if you have the means, go get a coach. Absolutely. I think it's one of the most powerful tools if you find the right person who you really click with, who is well trained, who understands, what they are doing and how to ask the right questions to guide your journey and give you the right tools and support. That, like, you can't beat that. You can't beat that one-on-one if you have the means to be able to go and do that. I would say to start a meditation practice immediately, and that can be 5 minutes, right? We have this myth around meditation that's got to be hard and long and, complicated.
Right.
Sit down for 5 minutes and follow your breath. Like, that's it. That's it. And don't expect all of your thoughts to disappear, because they won't. The practice of meditation is when you catch the thought to bring yourself back to your breath or whatever it is that you're focusing on. So I would say absolutely, categorically, start to meditate. And then I would say that process will help you really tune in. And if you are tuned in and you're looking after yourself and you are taking small steps every day, and getting the support that you need, whether that's a coach or whether that's inspiration. A lot of my mentoring I get from listening to other people's podcasts. I listen to one every single morning, and it's free. Yeah. So, you don't have to have money for this. You just show up. Yeah. Do some work every day to build momentum. Then you will get there. And just keep clarifying the vision. Keep clarifying the vision. I can't stress that enough, because it will morph and change. And if you are really bedded down and locked into that vision, with that flexibility and organic nature that it can and morph and shape, then you will have the grit to continue even when it gets hard.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we are coming down to the end of our interview. And how can everyone find you?
So I live online at megandallacamina.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's my home.
Okay.
That's my online home. So there's, as I said, heaps of resources. I write there every week. You can jump on my email list. I have a podcast, and just lots of juicy stuff over there. And then, look, I'm on all the social media, but where I really live every day is on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I have Instagram stories every day. I post stuff. So yeah, I would love to connect with people over on Instagram as well. And I'm just Megan Dalla-Camina. One word, no hyphen. So would love to connect with everybody.
And what's your podcast called?
My podcast it's currently called Women, Leadership and Work, but it is in the process of being changed to the Megan Dalla-Camina podcast.
Oh, okay.
Just to make it easier for everybody. So
when is that coming about, that change?
Next week, actually. So October.
October. Okay. This will probably maybe up by then.
Yeah. But if
Okay.
if people just search for me, there's only one Megan Dalla-Camina. So you'll find me everywhere.
Okay, great. Now, I always end all of my interviews with just 3 really quick questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so one is there a book that you're currently reading that you're absolutely loving?
Oh my gosh, if you saw my bedside table, there are 15 books on my bedside table. The book that I have just opened is The Mists of Avalon.
Oh, okay.
So it's an old book. I literally just opened that last night. So that's what is on my bedside table. At the moment, I'm very deep into a whole lot of books around Ayurveda and around essential oils and aromatherapy. I'm doing a lot of research in those spaces at the moment.
Beautiful. And what is one of your favorite podcasts that you listen to?
Oh, what a great question. Oh gosh.
How many do you have that do you have like 10 or 15 different ones that you?
Yeah, so
follow?
I actually just opened up mine. So here's
Okay.
It just depends whether I want something business and entrepreneurial and creativity focused, or if I want something more sort of deep focused. So I listen to the Chase Jarvis live show, which I love. I listen to Profit Power Pursuit with Tara Gentile. I listen to Being Boss, which is super fun. The Portfolio Life by Jeff Goins, which is a great podcast for writers. Beautiful Writers podcast.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Linda Stevenson. If I want something really deep and sort of spiritual, I'll go listen to Sounds True, Insights at the Edge. Yeah, look, there's just so many.
Do you have
of
Super
my
Soul
favorites.
Sunday on there? Super Soul Sunday?
I don't have that on my podcast. I do go and watch the episodes on my computer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I should probably download that. And sometimes I'll listen to the Tim Ferriss show because he has I just love him. He's got some great stuff as well.
Yeah. Totally. And let's see, what else? And what is one of your like biggest indulgences that you don't mind spending a lot of money on?
Books.
Ah, yes.
Well, I have two. Books
Okay.
and essential oils. So I actually run an essential oils business. So it's one of my ventures. So I spend a lot of money on essential oils for myself, my clients, and everything that comes with that. Books, and I do blends and alchemy, and have my own branding and all sorts of things. So that and books. Like I will never ever. I have thousands of books. I will never limit myself on how much money I can spend on books. I would buy a book before I would buy food. So, well, as long as I wasn't starving, obviously. But yeah, books for sure.
Yeah, essential oils. I know. I do Young Living though, and been doing it for a long time, and I'm just getting sort of back to not using them because I use them personally, but now bringing them into more of my professional setting. So, and using them a little bit more with my patients.
So important. So important.
Yeah, and
It's going to change the face of healthcare. It's.
I mean, it's my go-to if I feel a little cold coming on. Everything
Everything.
is right
Yeah.
with my oils. Exactly.
Yeah. Same. Absolutely everything.
Well, Megan, thank you so much. I really love the work that you're doing in this world. I love that you empower women on such a deep level. And I hope to meet you in person one day. If you're ever out on the East Coast, please let me know. If I ever travel out to Australia, I will certainly let you know. I just love meeting powerful women. And I'm sure with your podcast, you feel the same way. Just the phenomenal people that you meet on this journey of podcasting has just been just remarkable. And I really bow down to who you are as a woman and just how you are in this world and what you're bringing to the women that that meet you, that through live events or through online. It's just beautiful. So I thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I receive that with gratitude. So thank you. And thank you for everything that you are doing and for, yeah, reaching out to me and having this beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.
Have the most beautiful night, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Take good care.